With the Carolina Panthers again back at OTAs after a Memorial Day break, would you believe that the powers that be believe that they've made enough moves at the wide receiver position to garner different results than last season?
I don't believe anything. Don't Smasher.
Well, believe it. Want to find out what my analysis on this is? Stay tuned on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us again. As you guys know, I am Mr. CeeLo, here to talk with you again. And guys, I am just overwhelmed with the love that I've been getting. And I'll tell you, I just did a show where I did some comments, and I'm doing another one because I definitely want you guys to know what my stamp is on what this receiving core looks like. I don't think they're terrible, but I think it's going to have a lot of things that are going to come up against it, because I think the Panthers have a larger issue than what most people think.
Bruh.
But let's do a little bit of housekeeping, shall we? Hope you guys are doing great. I am, of course, back from graduation and the Memorial Day weekend. Hope you guys are still safe and your families are great. Hope you all had a wonderful time. You grilled out and fished like I did and caught nothing.
Is that your best?
But hope you guys are safe, and thank you so much for once again joining us and enjoying the content. As we continue to get many of you subscribing to the channel, and it just makes me feel great because we're getting the Growlin' and Prowlin' family out there. I hope you guys know that I am working on something special. So I definitely want you guys to go to the Growlin' and Prowlin' Facebook page and join it so I can know who you guys are, because YouTube is not doing a very good job of keeping up with my subscribers. So I need you guys to make yourself known. I've had a couple of more subscribers and I do not know who they are. But let's get in a little bit of house cleaning, shall we? I want to give a shout out to George. I don't want to give you guys names because, without your discretion, I don't want to put you out there. But if you guys want to know the comments, just look down underneath the show. This comment came from Will Xavier Leggett. Join Marshall and Mingle in this club. George says, good content, bro, but the music is unnecessary. I have taken notice on that. Maybe show better breakdown of the plays, slow motion versus game speed. Only problem with that, guys, if I show any kind of content during a game, it has to be in small spurts because of the copyright, as you guys know. I don't want to get strikes for copyright, but I do the best I can, you guys. All in all, great opinion, and you make very valid points. And another thing, I want all you guys to know, it's not about my opinion. I have not coached on the pro level, but I've coached on a smaller prep level. So I know what needs to be done in certain areas. And it's like this, you guys. The higher up the ladder you go, the better the coaching has to be. It's not just the X's versus the O's anymore. Now, certain players, doesn't matter what, like your Tyreek Hills, are going to be different players altogether. But guess what, Panther Nation? We don't have a Tyreek Hill. We have to take advantage of whatever it is a certain player brings to the table. But back to George's comment. I try not to make opinions. Every now and again, I make an opinion. I try to back up my thought process with facts. And he said, I remember when Marshall balled out. I remember too, you guys, he had 9 catches in a game. And then they sat him the next week. See, you guys, I'm not just pulling stuff out of the air. George, just thank you, brother, for commenting and backing me up. And they sat him next week. Actually, they sat him the next 2 weeks, brother. The next 2 weeks. That was why he wanted out. I also believe the reason we didn't have much separation is because of the play calls. Absolutely. I said the same thing. Glad to see someone else is coming up and second motioning what I'm saying and backing up what I'm saying. You know, some are filled with stretchers and others are space makers. Frank didn't utilize any of his wide receiver strengths. Piss poor.
Outstanding.
I try to keep my lingo clean as possible, but I had to read your comment. But not a bad comment. Very great comment. And I need those comments. See, Panther Nation, that's what this is all about. You expressing yourselves. I want to give Panther fans a platform. This is what this is all about. If you guys want to feel free to say what you say, I am going to say it on the air. Just like a certain guy who works for ESPN now. All he was doing was putting his opinions out there. That's what you need to be. You guys pay for the games just like I do. That was a great comment, George. Thank you so much for the comment, my friend. And Souls, listen, I know we got Leggett in the first round. The last pick in the first round. Technically, it was a second round pick. If anybody knows, the only reason why Morgan traded up was so he could have the 5th year option. Okay? We know he got drafted in the first round. Stop trying to troll me. If you would have watched the show where I talked about Xavier Leggett, you would have seen that. Try again.
Dumb shit. Dumb shit.
And then I finally got someone to comment on the Jatavian Sanders wasted as Tommy Tremble has been wasted. And I don't know XAAHQE. You are right on point and way beyond. Kudos to you. I wish I could say this, you guys, but go to the show. Panthers have Jatavian Sanders, but will his skill set be wasted as Trembles has? He had a great comment where he says, I am right on point. And that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not just making these comments and doing this show so that I can just be a face somewhere. I'm doing this because I got fed up. I got tired. I've been doing things like this in public for years, but I've never done a show. And being that you live in Georgia, you don't get a chance to do too much. You really don't. And I'm seeing that now I'm starting to catch traction and you guys feel some of the same way I do. And this is the thing. Dan Morgan's getting paid big money. So is Dave Canales. Sometimes you can be so caught up in the moment that you don't see certain things. Tommy Tremble is a star. And if any of you guys watch the show, you're saying Jatavian Sanders. But the thing is, Sanders is going to need time to develop his blocking skills. That's a fact. That is one thing Tommy Tremble has never struggled with. That was the one thing he excelled at Notre Dame. He's always had the ability to catch the football. He's always had great athleticism. Maybe, just maybe, Dave Canales can finally get him over the hump. Because I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say this. Yes, we have Jatavian Sanders. But what would it look like if we had Tommy Tremble and Jatavian Sanders on the field at the same time? Junior. Who cares? For one. Just saying, you guys. When you can get these two caliber players on the perimeter and they block efficiently, and you got a guy, let's say Leggett or Jonathan Mingo, or even Deontay. These are some guys that you could really utilize. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you can get this kind of size out there on the field at the same time with that kind of elusiveness that Johnson and Mingo and Leggett present, you could have issues. Serious issues. Not to mention Jonathan Brooks out there. You get him out there, run a screen. You could put, if Leggett's a good blocker or Mingo's a good blocker, or you could get either one of these three guys out there. Put all three of them out there on a screen. Spells disaster, doesn't it? For the opposing team, that is. But, guys, I always want to give you guys a shout-out. Thank you so much for continuously coming to the content and voicing your opinion. But make sure you go to the Facebook channel, Facebook page, Growling and Prowling, the same name. Give me comments. Get up in my inbox. Go to Instagram at Mr. CeeLo. Tell me if there's certain content you want to hear about. Because as of now, what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about the receiving corps and how it's going to relate to the Panthers' success or lack thereof next season. Now, my biggest issue with the receiving corps was that we added one of the same player. And I'm getting a lot of heat from comments that are saying Leggett's better than Mingo and Terrace Marshall. I tend to disagree. We were saying the same things about Mingo compared to TMJ last year, and we cannot stress this enough. You can't go by a college tape. You have to basically, in a nutshell, take it for what it is. You have to take it for what it is, and when you get to the next level, you have to be able to do the very things that you did in college, but against superior competition. And I don't know, with one season really under his belt. Now, a lot of people will say he was doing this, but nobody was paying attention because he was at South Carolina. Fair. But the thing is, this was a guy that flirted with being in the first round, and the Panthers took him in the second round. And first round. They went up to get him, but it was technically the second round. We'll say it's the first. It'll go down in the books as the first, but we all know the Panthers only traded up so they could get the fifth year option. And Buffalo was not interested in drafting him. But then we look at what we have as a whole. I love Deontay Johnson in the trade. I will say that was probably one of the best moves in the offseason. I still would have liked, and a lot of people are going to be sore at me for saying this, that I still wished we had drafted Keon Coleman because of his size, his height. And unless Canellis is met with one Terrace Marshall, I don't know if he's going to stay. This is possibly a disaster of a situation that was not eased by Frank Wright, nor Thomas Brown, or any of the outgoing coaching staff, if you will. But he's still here. And I believe Tave Canellis can turn him into something special with that 1 year remaining. Same thing with Tommy Tremble. And the Panthers will have a good portion of cap space next season. And we could work with these guys. As far as Jonathan Mingo's 44 grabs, I know that was overly fun to watch. This is a guy, like I said, he reminds me of Xavier Leggett. Everybody's like, oh, he's better. I see the same player. Two really physical, quick wide receivers. And they know they can usually get away from guys that are, less physical. And they can run away from guys, and they both have nasty stiff arms. And then, of course, you still have Adam Thielen. And then, of course, we got to throw into your tight ends, Ian Thomas, and, of course, my favorite, you guys know, Tommy Tremble, as well as Steven Sullivan, guys. I think the problem we look at is so many people are saying, and even Dean Jones said in one of his articles, he is understanding that now it's not the tight ends, it was more along the coaching staff. And even Tommy Tremble was given, taking some heat. In my opinion, he doesn't have to. It's up to the coaches to see the talent, not Tommy Tremble. You can go out there and practice as hard as you want. It's up to the coaches to trust you. See the work that you're putting in and trust you. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you do not have that type of tight end that can hurt you, let's look at the Houston Texans. And then we don't have to look at the obvious, which is Kansas City. C.J. Stroud trusted Dalton Schultz. Frank Wright just seemed like he did not want to be there, and you guys have heard me say this before. And it was a disaster. From the point that the only time you need to have wide receivers running little short routes or short crossers is if your tight ends are eating up the seams. You do not need to have your tight ends running short little crossers behind the wide receiver. What is that? Especially if they're lined up on the line of scrimmage. You need to run seams.
Why don't you explain it to me?
Seam corner routes. Those two. You need to run seam corners or just straight up seams. That way, you're taking the linebackers with you, and you get those wide receivers eating up the bottom half. Or you run double crossers, double short, shallow crossers.
Damn, I'm good.
It's simple. However, this is how it relates to the Carolina Panthers' success in 2024. We've lost so much on the defensive side. Even if our improvement on offense is vast, I don't think it's going to be enough to make up for the many pieces that the Carolina Panthers have lost in one Frankie Louvu, Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin. And you have to be able to fill those voids. If you cannot fill those voids from a top 5 defensive standpoint, you've got to make that up in offense. And a lot of people are thinking guys like Josie, I like guys like Clavon Chasen. I like Jadeveon Clowney, Jewel. I like these guys. But not enough to, DJ Wanham. But not enough to say that they're going to be a top 5 defense again. No. But I mean, if this receiving core does not perform any better, or Canellis does not pull enough different types of routes to get these guys open, and it looks like last year where you have a bunch of analysis saying you got to win battles, this is going to be a disaster, guys. We could very well go 0-16, and we could be drafting a quarterback next year. And I'm not blaming Bryce, but this could very well be the swan song for Bryce Young. And I hate it, because we could go all the way back, and I hate I'm saying this. We could have gone all the way back and not even traded up.
What a dumbass.
But I'm looking at it from the standpoint, guys, we have a good enough receiving core to go places. The thing is, we gave up a lot on defense, and I don't think that was smart. I think it's going to be a painful move for us. And I don't think we make a big difference. I think we end up probably with a top 5 pick, and I think we need to trade down and accumulate picks.
Who cares?
I think that's what we ultimately need to do, because we are going to have some cap space. We need to try to gain as much traction with other players as we possibly can. But that's going to do it, guys. Let me know what you think about what the wide receivers' impact is going to be. And is it enough? So keep those comments coming, you guys. And as I said, as we get ready to plow right into summer OTAs and continue on, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.